eye on the hands here, making sure that they're square with the shoulders. So bring them a little bit back if you need to. We tend to round out our shoulders to bring our bodies down. So with this leg motion, we're just waking up those muscles to kind of lift everything up. And we're going to allow the body to follow. So we're going to start to stretch the arms, extending fully. So from that 90-degree angle, we're just pushing up from the elbow. Again, the gaze is following, so my chin is up slightly here. I'm maintaining that pull, maintaining that slight tension through the front of my body. Great job, everybody. So let's hold this just for one breath in through the nose. As we exhale down, we're going to bring the arms back. So the same motion, just engaging now the back of our shoulders. If you want to give them a slight wiggle here, starting to open up the chest. As we come down, bringing down those 90-degree elbows here. Great job, you guys. So, okay, we're warming up our shoulders, staying right here now with our chest nice and open. Hi. Engaging our back muscles. And what we're going to do is keep our hands tight on the strap, but turn them down. So as you feel that sort of tension move from your shoulders now through the arms with each turn, breathe into it and notice any areas of tension through your back, specifically through your shoulders here. So again, turning the arms just a bit at a time, turning them out to the front, back to my 90 degrees, turning the hands back, engaging through the arms. Great job. Another turn, again, 90 degrees, back to the front. And with each breath, we'll switch again, back to 90 degrees. And once more, palms up, maintaining that tension through your strap as you come back to your 90 degrees. Again, feel free to relax and reset at any time. Give those shoulders a wiggle. Feel any areas of tension. As we move through these poses, we're going to bring our arms all the way back down now. Releasing the strap. And bringing the hands to either side of the hips. Good job. Keeping the body nice and square, nice and straight. An imaginary string is kind of pulling us up so that we're sat with good posture. Our hands are here at either side of our hips, keeping those shoulders square, maintaining those straight lines all the way up the arm through the collarbone. Just staying here for one moment as we ground ourselves from the hips. Taking a deep breath in through our nose and out from our mouth. Now we've woken up those shoulders. Hopefully, if you're feeling a little bit of movement through the arms as well. We're going to maintain that by bringing our hands up to the shoulders and rounding out using our elbows as our point of alignment here. Drawing some circles to the back. Good, and then flipping to the front. Hi, welcome. Coming in. Sorry, no worries. I'm glad you're here. We just warmed up our shoulders. We're going to start to turn our elbow towards one side. So focusing on opening just one shoulder at a time. I'm starting here on my right. I'm keeping my hands on my shoulders to maintain that alignment, especially through the front and back of my upper back. Exhaling back to center. Let's twist to the opposite side, leading again from that elbow. And just bring that elbow back behind me, keeping that straight and square alignment through the front and back of my shoulders. Good, exhaling back to the front, continuing our elbow circles from the front to the back, and then finishing by bringing the arms up, back, and down. Good, you should feel some openness now through, especially here at the very tops of our shoulders. We're going to bring those arms back down, straightening them back toward our hips, resting pressing the palms on either side of the hips again to ground, find our alignment, and then pushing back onto our sacrum, the back of our hips, to stretch each foot out to our sides. So now we're making a big V shape with our legs. You can keep your knees slightly bent if you need to here. But the goal here is that the top half of our body is staying nice and straight and tall, and the lower half of our body is starting to stretch out and extend as well. So you can start to stretch your toes, point your toes forward and back, stretching your ankles or your knees, finding what's comfortable for you, especially from the hips, to bring those feet out to the front. And from here, we're going to bring our shoulder down to one hip. So I'm going to start here at the left, and I'm just going to imagine that connection between my shoulder, my right shoulder, and my left hip. I'm not worrying about touching all the way to my toes at all. Just focusing on that slight twisting motion now to the front, the same way we twisted towards the back just a moment ago. This time we're twisting toward the front. Just bring the shoulder in toward that left hip. We'll stay here for one more breath. And then exhale, back to center, hands back to either side of the hips. Again, aligning from the hips out through the front of our mats to our feet. Staying here for another breath. And then inhaling to bring that shoulder down to the opposite hip. Nice and gentle. There's no hinge through my hips here. I'm really just focusing on just slightly bowing my shoulder down toward the opposite hip. My right hand is still here next to my right hip, just to keep my body stable. Maintaining that grounded feeling from the hips here. That same twisting motion between the left shoulder now and the right hip. We're here for one more breath, and then we're exhaling back to center. Sat up nice and tall. Great job, you guys. Shoulders square. We can move our toes, feet to the front. As we now choose one side, I'm going to come back here to my left and extend the arms fully toward the left foot. So you can hold on here to your knee. You could come to your ankle. Or you could push slightly through the side of the foot to bring those toes up toward the head. And let's make sure that we're not locking the knees here. We're keeping them nice and relaxed. Focusing on opening now the back of that left shoulder by stretching those fingers toward our feet. Feeling that same twisting motion that we practiced from the right shoulder connecting to the left hip. Maintaining that grounded feeling, of course, through the hips here. And keeping the chin tucked just slightly so we're taking off any tension in our neck here. And not overcompensating at all with those neck muscles. We want to be nice and gentle with our necks, especially when we are stretching our shoulders. As you exhale, you can start to walk your body a little closer toward your knee, closing that space between your chest and your knee. Good job, guys. And here, I'll repeat once more as we stay in this pose. Our verse of the evening: in him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. Let's inhale back up to center. Again, back to our home base where our hands are square with the hips here, maintaining that alignment through the front of the chest. Good, and then we'll come back to the other side, closing that space between the left shoulder, the right hip, and then stretching that right arm all the way down to either the knee, the ankle, or the side of the foot. that knee nice and loose, not locking it at all. Tucking that chin slightly. Focusing on stretching through that right shoulder. And with each breath, we're closing that space between our chest and our knee. Encouraging that arm to stay a little straighter, a little longer. And making that same stretch that we practiced with our strap. That slight pull, this time from our foot. And as we're here, we're thinking about that verse that reminds us that God's proof is more than his promise, that he doesn't act to make us happy, but instead to make us holy. And that thought alone brings us safety, safety that's not just a thought, but a sensation. Continuing to close that space for one more breath. As we exhale, we get a little closer, and then we inhale, nice and slow, walking those hands back up to our home base, either side of our hips. Great job. Again, you can stretch those toes. Draw some circles with your ankles here, and then start to bend the knees toward your front. I'm gonna keep them about shoulder width apart for now. Right in front of me, keeping my hands still square at the hips so that my shoulders are nice and open. And we're actually gonna bring our body all the way down to one side. So I'm starting here at the right. And I'm just gonna windshield wiper them here to one side. And here I'm gonna bring my hands still to the opposite side. So my right hip and my right hand are holding my weight here. Good job. So from here, we're gonna just hold for a moment, feeling how our hip is becoming square with the ground. Allowing the knees to kind of settle. So that our hips can take our weight. We're still stretching up from our shoulders here. And we're gonna open the arms and stretch to either side. So these are often called shoulder slaps. And that's really what we're doing, is just pushing our palm against the opposite shoulder from side to side. Our right hip is holding our weight as we do so. So that we have a slight twist through that right side. And the left side becomes super open. Feeling that flow. And moving into it now as we land on the left side. Keeping my hand here on the right shoulder as I land my left hand toward my back, toward the left hip, right? My gaze will follow, so my chin can meet my shoulder here. Good, and my right hand is resting here on my left hip, just pushing in slightly to maintain that groundedness through the hips here. Okay, let's release the same way we got here. Inhaling to bring the hand back. Right hip and right hand holds our weight again. Let's switch again to the other side. You should feel a good stretch through that left hip as you come back to center, to our home base. Again, our hands square with each hip, and then allowing our weight to shift, this time to the left hip and left palm. Great job, guys. So still, that string is pulling us up. We're sat nice and tall. Our upper body is super straight. We're sat with good posture, chest nice and open, shoulders up, back and down always. Good. Allowing the hips to settle, allowing the knees to settle here. Nice and slow. And then we'll release to again extend those arms to either side and move from left to right. Feeling a slight twist through the spine as we do so. focus this time in the right side. Continuing our breath through our shoulder slaps. These dynamic movements help create openness and flow through the body to prepare us for these yin yoga poses. Great job. Continuing for one more breath, as slow or as fast as we'd like. And then landing again on that opposite side. So my left hand is behind me this time. And my opposite hand is on that hip, just pushing slightly, creating just a bit of tension to push my body towards the back of my mat. And here we will hold. Oh, you know what, you guys? I went to the wrong side. Let's be this way. But thanks for copying me and trusting me. Well, yeah, we're meant to be on the right side. We're opening the right side here. So I'm pushing just slightly on my left hip and opening to the right. Good job, you guys. We'll stay here for one more breath. And then come back to our home base. Knees to the front, hands to either side of our hips. And here you can mimic that same motion. Bring the hips all the way down to either side. Allowing just one to lift at a time. So these are not necessarily like our hip openers that are kind of a go-to for hip practices. This is more of a windshield wiper motion that strengthens the hip, where we're focusing on moving the knee all the way down to our mat or to the rug. What this is doing is allowing a lot of openness through the hips and then through the legs here, creating stability so that we can come all the way down to our mats. I'm going to turn this way so you can see. I'm going to bring my body down just one vertebrae at a time, down to my elbows, my forearms, until I'm laying fully. So a little wider than shoulder width apart. My feet are here. My arms are wide to either side, so that I'm keeping those shoulder blades apart, nice and open. And we're actually going to just stay here for a moment, allowing our body to melt into our mat, especially to take notice of how the shoulders feel here. Are your shoulders meeting your mat? Is one shoulder holding more weight than the other? And how is that affecting our arms below? Are our palms up toward the ceiling? Are they bent slightly, turned to the side? Notice the alignment in your shoulders. Breathe into it and allow it to release fully as you melt into your mat. Staying here for 2 more breaths. Still taking notice of how those shoulders are feeling. Now wondering, how is the chest doing here? Is it open? Are we rolling the shoulders in? Exhaling to bring our hand to the opposite side. So my left hand is reaching across my right shoulder here. And then exhaling, bring it all the way back, palms up toward the ceiling. Now the other side, bringing that right arm across the left side. Keeping those shoulder blades in contact with the mat if we're able. With each exhale, our fingertips get closer to the floor. A little further to that left side, our gaze is following to ensure we're not creating any tension or tightness in the neck here. And then we're exhaling, again, extending all the way back to our Savasana, arms wide out for this adaptive pose, because again, we're focusing still on the shoulders, melting those shoulders into our mat by keeping the arms slightly open. We're creating openness in the shoulder blades here, and especially through the chest, so that we're encouraging those shoulders to melt down toward the mat rather than rounding forward. This will be important as we move into our tummy poses. We're returning to the other direction. So again, staying here for a moment, melting into our mat and taking notice of how those shoulders are feeling. Great job, guys. And so we're going to bend the knees up again, just as we've been practicing. You can continue those windshield wipers, bring the knee to the floor on either side to get the knees comfortable and the hips comfortable. And now this position with the knees up, allowing our abdomen to engage slightly as we're tucking the hips, tucking the sacrum just a bit, and keeping the upper half of our body still straight and strong. I bring my hands up now by folding them up to my shoulders. So bending at the elbows, bringing the hands up to the shoulders. Good, starting to close that space. Nice and slow. And then just bringing one knee into the chest. Both my hands come to meet it. And I'm pushing just slightly, bringing that knee in towards the chest. Exhaling back down. Hands come back up to the shoulders here. Again, bend at the elbows, hands at the shoulders. Hips tucked slightly, keeping those abs engaged. Breathing through as we bring the opposite knee in toward the chest. Good, just a slight check-in with the hips here. Because again, they're going to keep us stable. So we want to make them out, make sure they're ready to stretch. Exhaling that right hip back down, hands come back up to meet the shoulders. And now zip the toes together, bring those knees together, and hands can follow here to your hamstrings as you lift again just one knee at a time so that both can come towards your chest here. Pushing those big toes together, closing the space between the knees and the chest. Still a slight tuck through the hips here, keeping those abs engaged, and shoulders square, melting them down, encouraging them not to roll forward, but to rest back. Embracing and embodying that feeling of safety and security we talked about. A sensation rather than a thought. Tonight we're acknowledging that God creates, but our choice takes care of the rest. Oftentimes we can become self-conscious of our choices in life, but the Bible's truth is that we together are holy. We learn that fear can convince us to live in shame or to stray away from God. Our mission tonight is to come back, to find confidence and safety in our choices. trust that He has created us for purpose, for good, and that His light lives within us. So thanks for being here to connect to yourself tonight, to others, and of course to our God. As we're here, we can continue our prayer breath. This pose is great for helping us feel safe, especially in times of dread or anxiety. So I encourage you to close your eyes. And feel those deep breaths through your belly as you breathe in through the nose and out through your mouth.
I do this in the shower sometimes.
Oh, perfect. I love that. That's a good tip.
Yeah. Like exactly like this, just silly as shower water.
Good tip. Now that's our homework to try that at home too.
Yeah, I should try it.
Staying here for 2 more breaths, continuing to close that space between the knees and the chest. Encouraging those shoulders to rest flat. Embodying and embracing the sensation of safety. Before releasing with an exhale, those feet back down to the front of your mat. You can continue those windshield wipers or hip openers, maintaining that flow of energy to encourage the body to find, again, its alignment. As we have our knees up here, our hands come back to meet the shoulders, chest is open, chin slightly up, and hips slightly tucked. From here, we're going to choose just one side to roll towards, again, allowing one side to take our weight so our hips can help us roll to just one side. And I'm going to roll all the way through my left hip, up into my palms, until my knees are bringing me up to tabletop. And turn this way so our friends at home can see. Good, how our hands and knees are now square. Taking that nice and slow. That's why we opened up the hips and took some time to stretch those out, because they're going to take our weight here as we stretch the shoulders here from our front. So I encourage you to stay here at tabletop. Maybe shift your weight from side to side. Always taking a moment to find that alignment, ensuring that the knees and hands are both shoulder width apart, that the shoulders are over the wrist, and that the hips are over the knees. And we're going to choose one side, preferably the opposite side of where you shifted your weight towards. So I shifted over, rolled over to the right hip. So I'm going to choose now the left side to thread my hand under and release the hips back toward the heels. My palm is up toward the ceiling here, and my gaze will follow, so that my ear can come down toward my shoulder or toward my mat. If you'd like to use a block here to support the neck, that would also be a great choice, because we always want to ensure we're taking tension off of our neck when we're stretching our shoulders. So feel free to relax and reset at any time. As you breathe to deepen this stretch, you can bring those hips further toward your heels. Fingertips can walk forward toward the front of your mat. And that shoulder, whichever side you're stretching towards, I'm stretching my left arm out, so my left shoulder is continuing to melt toward my left knee, down toward my mat, and of course my ear follows. Chin tucked slightly here, still checking in with that neck. Staying here for one more breath. And then inhaling to push back up from the hips to the forearms, back up to the palms. Again, find to ensure our shoulders are above our wrists, our hips are above our knees, and then choosing now the other side to weave under its opposite arm. Pushing those hips back toward the heels. My right arm is woven under my left now. Palms up toward the ceiling. Tucking that chin slightly and allowing that shoulder to fall down toward my mat. My ear follows. And as I breathe, I push those hips back and fingers forward to create space between either side, keeping the spine long and strong through this stretch. Great job, guys. Staying here for one more breath. And on our inhale, we push up from the hips to the forearms and then the palms. Again, finding alignment in our tabletop position before bringing the forearms down to our mats, still keeping those hips up, and then pushing them back so that we're creating kind of a curve, bringing our belly buttons down, and closing the space between now our chest and our mat for a puppy pose. This is an adapted puppy pose where I'm using my forearms so that I can ensure I'm getting a full stretch through the shoulders here. Because again, tonight our focus is on our shoulders. This is an area, of course, we can hold a lot of tension. It's a common phrase that we have the weight of things on our shoulders, right? So tonight, our goal is to release it, to find confidence and faith in our choices, to embrace and embody the sensation of safety. Here is to bring the fingers up toward the front of our mats and release the hips down all the way to child pose. But our focus is still on closing that space between our chest and the mats. By doing so, we're creating a lot of openness in our upper back here. Stretching through the tops of our shoulders. But now we've added this challenge, if you're here in child's pose, to continue to open the space between the fingertips and the hips, extending fully through the spine. Great job, guys. So in Methodist teachings, sin is anything that separates us from who we are, from God, from others. And so when we're confident in our choices and our path, we do become more whole and more confident in the light that's within us. Because rather than questioning or finding ourselves stuck in feelings of dread, we're embodying and embracing the feeling of safety. Co-creating with our choices, carefully with the creation He's made, finding in faith that making a Christ-like choice is easy,
and that if or when we fall not in fear, but in His light, which we learn from. God creates, our choice takes care of the rest. We'll stay here for one more breath, and then push up again to those forearms, finding ourselves back into puppy pose. Before pushing back up into tabletop. Again, aligning those shoulders over the wrist and hips over the knee.